Hello and welcome, my name's Ryan, I'm also known as RM2KDev. Now in this video we're going to be doing the monsters, we're going to be continuing on from the last video. Apologies for the delay, we had some issues last weekend, so I didn't get a chance to actually record this video. So I'm recording it today, it will most likely go live today. Today is Saturday, so if it's out on Saturday, it went live today. So let's jump in straight away. The first thing I want to do is I just want to move our hero from the inn or from the pub where he was before just down here to these warps so we can get out of the city really fast. So I'm just going to take down note of that position. It's 688 by 1328. Jump into system in our IVARs. I think it was 688 by, I forgot, so I'm just going to double check. 688 by 1328. 1328. And what that's going to do is that's just going to move us over here so we can just get out of the city really fast. So let's just double check that that's working. Oh, whoops, I've got my target set to Android still. Double switch that over. Okay, I must have got those numbers wrong, so let me double check that. It was 688 by 1328, I think it was. Let's just double check. There we go, 388. 688 by 1328. Yep, that's right. So we'll just double check that that's working. Yeah, it is. So now we can just come straight out here into the forest really quickly. The next thing I want to do is I just want to, I just placed a guy there. I just want to change the way that the NPCs are moving. So if you, sorry, not NPCs, the enemies. So if you just jump into object monster base, let me check. No, sorry, object forest monster. And in your step event, I just want you to comment out this code here. So we're just going to add some comments to that because we're not going to use this method anymore. We'll just jump into the alarm. Okay, so once you're in the alarm, we're going to set. What we're going to do is we're going to bring this line here back. Physics apply impulse x y dx dy. If you don't have that, just add this line back in. And we're just going to change the alarm to be a random number between 0 and 150. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change these lengths to 5. And that should be it for this. So what this is going to do is this is just going to change the way that the monsters move around in the world a little bit. So I'm just going to test that out and we'll see how that looks now. There you go. So now you'll see that these guys are just moving around in smaller bursts and a little bit more frequently. I think that looks a little more natural for this type of enemy. We can come back and make some different types of movement later, but for the moment that looks a little more natural, and it also fixes some of the issues we were having with the collisions, where by manipulating their X and Y coordinate in the step event we're getting some issues with collision detection. So now that should be fixed by doing it this way. So now that we've got that set up, I've been having a think about how we're going to implement the actual attacking system, and what I was thinking is we'll do something a little different. So a little different, similar to the Zelda style, but what we're going to do is we're going to do it more like a top-down shooter. So the numbers on your keyboard 1, 2, and 3, we'll use those to select the attack. So this is going to be a sort of a hybrid MMORPG, hybrid Zelda, hybrid top-down shooter attack system, I suppose. And I mean, you guys can implement whatever battle system you like in the game, but really this is just to show you guys something different, because there's 100 tutorials out there that show how to make an action battle system, and there's 100 tutorials out there that show how to make a tactical battle system. So I thought we'd try something a little different. We'll go with the whole top-down shooter system. So in order to do that, we need to change some of the key bindings on our keyboard. So currently we're using the directional buttons to control our hero. What we probably want to be using is the WSAD buttons and then the numbers 1, 2, and 3. So if you jump into your hero's step event, object hero, step, handle input logic, we're just going to change these from VK left, VK right, VK up, and VK down to ORD, and then brackets. And then inside of that, the capital version of the letter you want to press. So in the case of left, it's going to be ORD, and then it's going to have a capital A. In the case of right, it's going to have a capital D. In the case of up, it's going to have a capital W, and in the case of down, it's going to have a capital S. And the other thing we're going to do is, instead of using Z for interaction, we're going to use the traditional first person shooter style. So we're just going to have the capital E. So E is going to be our interact button. Now, if you did in the last video implement the shift to run, that's going to feel a lot more natural now as you're walking around using the WS, A, and D keys. So I just thought I'd mention that really quickly. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to jump into our heroes create event. So we'll just do that now. Jump into the heroes create event. We're going to need to add some another variable in here, and this is just going to say attack underscore type equals 1. So the default attack that's selected when the game starts is going to be the number 1 attack. So once you've done that, let's add an event. It's going to be of type key press, and it's going to be a digit, and it's going to be digit 1. We'll add another one for 2. I added 1 again. Key press digit 2, and then we do key press digit 3. Now inside of each of these, we're going to drag a little script, and all that's going to say is attack underscore type equals 1 for 1, 2 for 2, and 3 for 3. So I'll just copy paste that in there, and edit this. So that's going to be our 2, and then for 3, we're just going to have number 3. So from there, let's go into our draw events. We're going to add a draw GUI event, and inside of that, we're going to have a draw text. It's going to be at position 1010, and all it's going to say is attack type. We'll have a colon, and we'll say string attack underscore type. Now, just a quick explanation of what the string function does for anyone who doesn't know. If you try to display a number variable, so a variable that's holding a number, as a string in GameMaker, so for instance, if I were just to say draw text attack underscore type, something like that. Oops, I'm going to put, pretending that I had a X and Y coordinate in there, something like that. What you would see on the screen is null. It will come out as null because it's trying to read it as a string. So in order to get it to actually display as a string of text, you need to wrap it in the function string. Basically, that takes a parameter of whatever, and it returns you a string version of that parameter. So then you can do concatenation, so you can use the plus symbol to attach it to another one, and things like that. So we're just going to show on the screen the currently selected attack type. So let's run that and give that a quick look. Okay, so you'll see, oh, we still have that code in there set up, but you'll see over in the top left corner here it says attack 1. If I press 2, it says attack 2, and if I press 3, it says attack 3. If I press any of the other buttons, nothing happens, and we can just cycle between those 1, 2, 3 like that. So now that we've set up the way that we're handling the input for our attacks, let's begin by bringing in some sprites for our attacks. So I'm just going to come over into our sprites. I'm going to create a group. I'm going to call this attacks. I think I added 1 extra T in there. Let me just rename that. There we go. Create a sprite under there. Let's just call that sprite underscore attack fire. We'll just call it fire for now. Now edit the sprite, load in whatever sprite you guys like. I actually don't have a sprite, so I'm just going to create one. It's going to be 32 by 32 pixels. You could make it 64 by 64, whatever size that you want this attack to be. That's up to you. And I'm just going to get a brush, and I'm just going to start drawing some. Oh, that's a bit too big. That's a bit too big still. Just take some red and just draw on some. What was my power? Okay. Just draw on some fire. There we go. I'm just going to do that. This is going to be my fire, and you want your attack to be facing right because the way GameMaker handles the way GameMaker handles rotations, things pointing to the right are the direction that they tend to prefer. So I'm just going to use some lines and make a whole bunch of fiery looking fire. So this is just going to be a fire attack. It's nothing special. Copy that, paste that again, and just, you know, change it up a little bit so it has a bit of animation to it. Put some more red down, maybe a bit more pink. There we go, and maybe some more yellow, a bit brighter. So that's not the greatest animation, but you get the idea. Center that sprite. Once you've done that, come down to our objects. Now this time we need to create a new group called attacks, following the same structure as the sprites. Create an object inside of that, and we're going to call this one object attack underscore fire. We need to select the user's physics button, and we also need to select the attack sprite. Set the shape to whatever shape you want. If it's a strange shape object, you can use the shape, box, circle. In this instance here, I'm just going to use a circle, and I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller than the sprite actually is. Tick the box here that says sensor, and I'm just going to set the density to 0.1. Not that it matters, but just by having the word sensor ticked, it basically means that the collision event will fire only once when it collides with something, and it also means that instead of acting upon the object, so for instance if it was moving and they collided, it would push it away. By having sensor ticked, that's going to mean that it doesn't actually oppose any forces on the colliding object. So let's add a create event to that. Now inside that create event, we're just going to add alarm 0 equals 29. This is just a number I picked out of the air. We'll see how it works in a second. We're going to add inside of alarm 0 instance destroy. So basically after 30 frames the instance will destroy itself, because once we've created it, we don't want to have infinite amounts of these objects flying around on the screen. We just want them to get just beyond the screen and then probably delete themselves. And the final thing that we want to do is this is going to be a little bit more complicated. We want to add a collision event with object monster base. So if we go into our enemies, select object monster base. Now what we're going to do in here, there's a couple of things. The first thing we want to do is we want to detect the angle at which the bullet or the attack has touched the enemy. So we call that hit angle equals point direction. We're going to say from the current X and Y position of this object to the other physics representation. So physics underscore position X, other dot physics phy underscore position Y. So that's going to give us the angle at which the bullet hits the opponent. Sorry. From that, we need to work out a direction to push them in. So if we call this hit dx, so that's just going to standing for hit direction and then x coordinate. And we're going to use my favorite function in GameMaker, and that's length dir x. Let me if I can spell it right. Length dir underscore x. 10 at the direction of hit angle. Now a quick explanation of what this does. Let me just get paint up so I can show you guys. So what hit dir x does is it takes two properties. It takes a length and a direction. Now if you can imagine that this point here in the center is 0. Sorry, that's 0. What it does is if we have 0, then we have say -5 over here, we have -5 here, we have +5 here, and +5 here. If we were to say length dir x 2 at a direction of 90, we would come 2 out this way. And what it will do is it will actually give us the x and y coordinate of this, which is going to be 0, 2, like that. For instance, if we were to say, I'm trying to think of a good number here, 45 degrees. So if the length dir x and length dir y, obviously they bring back the y and the x position, but if we were to say an angle of 45 degrees and we wanted it to be 5, so length dir x is going to bring us the x coordinate, and the y length dir y will bring us the y coordinate, so that will be 5, 5. So what it does is it basically travels a length in a certain direction from 0. This is really useful so that we can do things like push the opponent in the other direction by getting the direction of x and the direction of y. So we do the same thing, we just do y, hit angle, just like that. And then all we need to do is say with other. Now other, because we're in a collision event, other represents the thing that we collided with. So if the bullet collides with monster A, other represents monster A. Now just to demonstrate this, I'm going to add a little bit of demo code here. It's just going to say physics apply impulse. Now once we've entered a with statement, we're basically saying that from this point onwards up until this point, we're dealing with the other object. So x and y no longer represent the bullet. They now represent the enemy. So from X and Y, so this is going to be the center point of that enemy. We're going to push them in the other dot hit dx and other dot hit dy. Now you might be a bit confused about why I've said other here when we're in the same file. Now, like I said, from this point here, we're dealing with other. And at this stage here, other is the monster that we've hit. Once you're inside of other, okay, so once you're inside of this with statement, other now changes to the calling object. So other now represents the bullet that actually hit the monster. Now, since we've defined these variables inside of the bullet and not inside of the monster, we have to say other.hit dx, which basically takes us out of this with statement and finds these two variables here. So what should happen now, let's have a quick look. Basically, when we collide with the monster and we've shot a bullet, oh, we haven't made the shooting bullets yet, I'm sorry. Let's do that quickly. So let's jump into object hero, and I'm going to add a new event. It's going to be global left press. So global mouse left press. Inside of global left press, we're going to add one script, and this is going to be the thing that spawns our bullets. So just like we did with the actual attacking object, what we're going to do is we're going to say dir, and this is going to be the direction from the player to the mouse position. So this is going to be point direction. It's the same code. I was just about to write the same code there. Point direction. It's going to be from the physics position X and the physics position Y. So this is the current position of the hero. Position Y. There we go. And that's going to be to mouse underscore X and mouse underscore Y. And that's going to give us the direction to the mouse. Then we're going to do the same thing as we did with the code from the collision. We're going to have spawn X. Now this is going to be, if we imagine the hero's center point as 0, we're going to use length dir X and length dir Y to pick a position around the hero to spawn the instance in. So that's going to be equals length dir X. It's going to be 16 pixels because we know that the sprite's 32 pixels wide. So if we go 16 pixels, we're going to be clearing the gap there, and it's going to be in the direction of dir. We do the same thing for Y. So spawn Y, length dir Y. That's what we have to do there. And now what we can do is we can do something. What we would do here is we would say if attack type equals 1, then spawn attack 1. If it's 2, spawn attack 2, and if it's 3, spawn attack 3. But we don't have those yet, so I'm just going to say attack equals instance create. It's going to be at the position of the player, so that's phy underscore position X plus spawn underscore X. Now, remembering that if the direction was, say, 180, that was going to be pointing to the left of the character. So length dir X from position 0, 16 pixels left is going to be negative 16. So the current X position of the player plus negative 16 is going to take us 16 pixels to the left, which is what we want. And we do the same thing for position Y. phy position Y plus spawn underscore Y. And the type that we want to spawn is object underscore attack underscore fire. Now I do realize that I haven't actually saved the object yet, so I'm just going to press OK and save the object and just reopen my code here so that the syntax highlighting kicks in. There we go. Object attack fire. Now by creating this object, the return value of instance create is actually going to be the ID of the object that we just created, because every object gets a unique ID in GameMaker, and we can use that ID to change properties of it. So now we can say with attack, and inside of these curly braces we're now dealing with the instance that was just created. So what we can do here is we can actually change the rotation. We can say phy rotation equals negative other.dir. So the reason I'm using negative is just because the way that GameMaker handles physics, directions from point direction, and the way that Box 2D handle physics in Box 2D, they're actually 180 degrees out of phase, so you have to flip it by using the negative symbol on that. So what that's going to do is when we spawn the object in, it's going to set its rotation to be the direction that you clicked in. The one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to game state, and I'm just going to delete, I'll just comment out this code here from the global left press, so we're not actually spawning menus all over the game. and we'll give that a test. So what you'll see now, if I click these objects, you'll see that they spawn in a circle around my player, and then after 30 frames or however many frames it is, they then despawn from the game. So the next thing to do is we need to make them shoot away from the player. We can do that very easily just by going back to our Object Heroes Global Left Press event, and what we'll do, we'll just jump back down into our with attack here, and we'll just say physics apply impulse. I like using these impulses, and it's just going to be from the X and Y. That's going to be our center point, and it's going to be other.spawn_X, other.spawn_Y. So once that's set, we'll just run and give that a test and see how that looks. There we go. So now you'll see that we're shooting these bullets basically away from our player. So this is our magic. Our hero has magic, and the way that I've made this is that just so that you can actually attack as fast as you click. So if you can click faster, you get more attacks. If you click slower, you get less attacks. But you know, that's sort of what gives the game a bit of fun, I suppose. Some people will have an advantage for being, you know, much faster clickers, and others won't. That's just how it works. So now if we jump down here, we should be able to see this in effect. That push that I was doing before. You can see that it affects these guys when we shoot them. They definitely don't enjoy being touched by that, and the effect only happens once. So yeah, he's definitely moving away from me. Yep. So I think that's right. I think we've got the code right there. The next thing that we probably want to do is we want to tweak the numbers so that we can't actually just, you know, attack this guy over here from, you know, really far away. We don't want that to happen. We want the attack to maybe stop 64 pixels away from our character. So we just jump down into our object attack fire in our alarm 0. Sorry, in our create event, and we just change this alarm. We'll just change this to 15, half the time. So maybe it's only going to go half of the screen now. We'll see how long that takes. Nope, that's still too much. Let's try maybe 7. It's all about tweaking these numbers. So once you've tweaked the numbers to there you go, that looks about right. So that's the distance that we can attack, and we could actually, you know, turn this into some sort of the way that it works. You know, if we set this to 2, and as the character leveled up, he got, you know, more range in his attack skills, we'll be able to increase that range by simply increasing this number here. But I'm just going to go with 7 for the moment. The other thing I'm going to do in Object Attack Fire's create event is I'm just going to set the image_speed to say 0.5, just to slow it down a little bit, because there was an animation there, and if you guys are using animations, it might look a bit bad with the animations going really fast. So we've got that part done. The next thing we need to do is we need to start making these guys die when they get collided by this object here. So to do that, we're going to jump into this collision event here for, Object Attack Fire, and in the collision event, and we're going to start doing some basic health calculations now. Okay, so once we're inside of this with event, we're going to start doing these health calculations. So the thing that I want to do first is, in the bullet, I just want to say damage equals 1 plus I random 3. What this is going to do is it's going to give us a random number between 1 and 4. Because I random returns us a number between 0 and 3. We started at 1. 1 plus any number between 0 and 3 is going to be 1 to 4. So that's going to be our damage. Now, the way you guys can do this when you do expand your game, when you start adding levels to your heroes and things like that, these damage calculations are going to take that into effect. So you can simply do things like damage equals 1 plus I random 3 multiplied by object player dot magic power, or whatever you guys have in your final game. But for demonstration purpose, I'm just going to pull a random number out, and we're going to do that until we start to add things like stats, if we do go into that much detail later on. So when we go back into our with other statement and just say HP equals negative equals other.damage. And then just below this physics apply impulse, we just say if HP is less than or equal to 0, then instance destroy. So basically we we calculate the damage, we apply the damage to the enemy, we send the enemy flying in the other direction, and if their health is less than 0, we destroy them from the game. We completely remove their object from the game. You could add a flag here saying is damaged equals true, and then have in the step event of your enemy, if is damaged equals true, then a nice alpha transition fade out, something like that. You know, there's plenty of options for you guys to change the way that this works to make it your own, but this is just going to be a quick and simple way to demonstrate the effect that I'm trying to get here. So jump back into object monster base. In your create event, say max underscore HP equals 10, or whatever you want your max HP to be. HP equals max HP. And that's it for the base. Now the forest monster, obviously we want it to be a little bit different, so we inherit the event, and then we say max underscore HP equals, I don't know, let's say 10, and we already got 10, let's just say 5. No, let's not say 5, because we've got a random number between 1 and 4. Let's say 15. There we go. And then we say HP equals max underscore HP. So what this does is we have a reference to how much HP they should have, and we also have a reference to what their HP currently is. That way, if we do end up adding things like area of effect healing in the boss fight, maybe there's going to be some, you know, the boss throws a potion down and his minions suddenly get a little bit stronger. Things like that. We need to know what that reference health was before they've started taking damage, so we can do things like applies 10% healing to max health. If we didn't have a reference to what the max health was, you wouldn't be able to do that kind of math. So we have to store all of this information before we process it. So what you should see now is going to be the basis of our attack system. If I jump down into our game here and I start attacking this guy, he should die after we've taken away 15 points of health. And again, we've got this ranged damage, so we can't hit him all the way from over here. We can just do a bit more like that. There we go, so we've taken that guy out. Obviously he's not fighting back yet, but you know, that's pretty much the basis of our attack system. Now I'm going to show you guys how to use this attack type variable. So we've got the fire attack currently done at the moment. What we could do is we could simply duplicate this and say object attack ice. Then we could duplicate our fire sprite and just say sprite attack ice, and we'll just edit the sprite a little bit. We'll do some colorize effects here. Shift the hue, there we go. We want to make the icy one a bit more blue. There we go, so we'll turn that blue just like that, and we'll apply that to the ice sprite. So attack sprite ice, and we'll do one more because we do have 3 attacks. So we've got fire, ice. Let's have object attack underscore lightning. I don't know, we'll have lightning in our game. So let's duplicate the ice sprite, call this one sprite attack lightning, edit the sprite, apply a color transition, or if you're using pre-made sprites, you can just, you know, grab a lightning sprite from online somewhere. Make sure you have the rights to use it before you do. What color is lightning? Lightning's usually purpley blue, so let's just go with that. There we go, purpley blue, and apply the sprite to that. Now jump back into your object hero in your global left press event, and oops, I hate the way GameMaker does that. They need to fix that. What we do here is we can say switch, and we'll just say attack underscore type. Then what we can say is we can say case 1, so we know 1 is going to be fire, and then we'll just put our break event, case 2, break. So these are basically just the open and close statements, and case 3, break. So in the case of 1, we're going to spawn in a attack type of fire. In the case of 2, we're going to spawn in an attack type of ice. So we'll just type in ice here. And in the case of 3, we'll spawn in an attack type of lightning. And this is where you can start to do things like elemental damage. You guys can come up with your own algorithms for doing this. It'll make it a little bit more fun, but basically if you did want to do something like elemental damage, you could come to your monsters create event, add something like elemental type equals grass, you know, something like that. And then in your fire attacks collision event, you could add something like in your create event, you would say, good against grass. You'd say elemental bonus equals grass, element weakness equals water, something like that. And then inside of your collision event, you could say if element type equals other dot element bonus, then apply some sort of mathematical bonus if you so desire. And that's a really simple way for you guys to implement some sort of elemental bonus. You could do the whole rock paper scissors thing, or the way Pokemon did it with fire, grass, and water. It's completely up to you. So yeah, we've got the 3 types of attacks in the game now. I'll just give you guys a quick demo of what they look like. Obviously, I'm just using some mock sprites that I just created randomly. So there's fire, we have ice, and also we have lightning as number 2 and ice as number 3. And if you want, you can change these up, because each attack is its own instance. So you could add a variable in here, and we'll just call this we'll call this force. Force equals, I think it's 16. 16, force equals 16. Jump back into your hero object, global left press event, and where we do the apply impulse, for spawn X and spawn Y, you just copy those variables into, you make new variables, force X, force Y. I'll tell you what, let's do it right now. Let's do it. Force X and force Y. Force Y is going to be force, because that's what we called it. And then instead of using other.spawn X, we just use this variable here. Click and remove that. Force X and force Y. And what this means though is that all of our attacks have to have a force variable in their create event. So I'm just going to add those in now. Force equals, I don't know, this one can be 20 for fire, and lightning can be, 2. Force equals 2. And what you'll see now is that our attacks have different properties regarding their speed that they fire at. Oh, what have we got? We've got a small error here. Length X for obviously because we haven't got other. Sorry about that. Jump back into your hero event, go back to left press, and where I've said dir, you need to say other.dir. Obviously, because we're out of scope now, we're in a different scope, we need to be using other for the dir variable, which is contained inside of the hero and not inside of the attack. And so what we should get now is we get fire, lightning, and ice, each having different properties regarding their spawning and their speed. So we can shoot from far away with fire, we can get this guy with lightning, and we can be really close with the ice attacks, just like that. Some sort of MMORPG system. Get him like that. There we go. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video. The next video is going to be on return fire. So the enemies will be fighting back. We're going to be using a very similar system. We're just going to reverse the way that we've done it. So if you guys would like to jump ahead and do that before I post the video, feel free. If you want to wait for the next video and follow along, also feel free to do that. We're probably then going to be looking at creating a boss. So we'll have the mechanics in place then to have us attacking an enemy from far away using our fire. We'll also have the mechanics in place for them to be attacking back. The boss is going to be down here in this hole, so we'll come down here in this hole here. We fight the boss, we kill the boss, he drops some loot, some epic gear, I don't know what it'll be yet, he'll drop something, and that's going to be the start of our introduction to items and inventory management. So once again, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like the video. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you are subscribed, thank you, and yeah, have a good day. Bye.